watching. And to the officers and to everyone in this room, and we are limited on time, and if questions are asked, we would appreciate if answers could be directed and pointed. Thank you. Senator McKenzie.
Thank you. Mr Betts, succinctly please, and don't read the letter back to me. What action has the Minister taken, other than writing to her Victorian counterpart, to satisfy herself that there have been no improper actions on Commonwealth-funded projects?
She's written to her counterparts. The procurements are managed at state government level.
Yes.
The work sites are...
No, what has she done?
I've already gone through the steps and amended the federal funding agreement schedule to make it a requirement.
Yes, we've got that in the letter. Has the Minister picked up the phone to her Victorian counterpart?
That would be a question for the Minister.
Have you picked up the phone to your Victorian counterpart?
I speak regularly to my Victorian counterpart.
On this topic?
As I explained, Senator, I have written to my Victorian counterpart as recently as Monday.
On this topic, on CFMEU and corruption and bikie gangs on Commonwealth-funded projects, have you picked up the phone, other than writing?
Yes, repeatedly.
Okay, on this particular topic?
On the topic of CFMEU, allegations of CFMEU misbehaviour, I've spoken to my Victorian counterpart, my New South Wales counterpart, all my counterparts across the country on a regular basis.
They haven't reported to you...
Correct.
Anything?
Correct.
Out of the unusual? Well, that's an indictment.
Well, it may be that they have nothing to report. I don't know.
What does the department estimate the additional cost of construction is, the corruption on work sites because of the CFMEU? What additional monies is the Commonwealth taxpayer having to spend in order to get the same amount of road and rail projects built?
Well, obviously you would require legal convictions for corrupt activity in order to even begin to quantify that, and as far as I'm aware, there haven't been any, so that's not a figure we would ever hold.
I'd say last
or that we could ever compute.
Senator McKenzie.
So it's your evidence that without a conviction in a court of law, that there is no impact on the federal monies being handed over to states, bearing in mind the billions of dollars in cost blowouts that had to go to Victoria for not an additional kilometre of road or rail project. That is not related, in your view, to the involvement of the CFMEU and bikie gangs on construction work sites in the public pipeline.
The point I was making was that you're not guilty of corruption until you're guilty of corruption. That's why we have courts of law.
My question was about funding.
So we've described the process of funding through the federal funding agreement. We've described the conditionality the Commonwealth's put around that in terms of a requirement that things be reported to the appropriate regulator, and it is appropriate that they be reported either to the police or the appropriate regulator.
Well, I think we see this as a soft touch for the CFMEU out of this sort of behaviour. 2 letters to a Premier that's overseen an absolute disaster on construction sites in Victoria.
I'll take that as a comment.
On that, yeah, we'll take this comment. On that, it being 9:45, thank you, Taz. Good on you, mate. The committee will now call representatives under outcome 1 of the department. Thank you.
Through the chair, if that's possible. Sure. Senator, if you don't mind, I'd love to go back to page 82 in budget paper number 4.
Are we still on corporate?
We're not. I'll be in your hands if you...
We're trying to close out.
We're just trying to clarify the 36 million that you were asking about, and I'm just wanting to ask a clarifying question about the calculation to make sure that we're looking at the correct numbers. So back on page 82. So I just want to clarify, were you for outcome 2 looking at the difference between, in column 1, the 227,599
and the
189,818? Excellent. All right, thank you. That's what we're working on.
That was my
That's helpful. Thank you.
That is fine. It's very
Maths.
helpful. We're just working through that for
Bearing
you.
in mind we've had a day to look at it all. Thank you.
Likewise.
Thank you.
All right.